What if I told you that something sitting in someone's attic could be worth millions? Welcome to a world where hidden treasures meet jaw-dropping appraisals. Today, we're diving into the top 10 most expensive items ever appraised on Antiques Roadshow. Each one packed with fascinating history, amazing mystery, and staggering value. We'll uncover why they were made, the stories behind them, who brought them to Antiques Roadshow, how experts appraised them, and what they'd be worth today. Enjoy the video. The House of Fabergé was founded in 1842 in St. Petersburg, Russia, by Gustave Fabergé, a talented jeweler of French descent. However, it was his son, Peter Carl Fabergé, who transformed the company into a world-renowned luxury brand. This extraordinary flower was crafted around 1905 during the reign of Tsar Nicholas II. This period marked the height of Fabergé's craftsmanship, when the company produced its most exquisite imperial Easter eggs and jeweled flowers for Russian royalty. After the Russian Revolution in 1917, the Bolsheviks seized Fabergé's workshops, and Peter Carl Fabergé fled Russia, eventually dying in exile in Switzerland in 1920. How was the magical Fabergé flower crafted? Each Fabergé flower was made using luxury materials and meticulous techniques, setting them apart from anything else in the world. Here's how this specific flower was crafted. The flower's leaves are carved from nephrite jade, a rare and valuable green gemstone. The stem is crafted from gold, making it both durable and elegant. The petals are coated with translucent enamel, a difficult technique perfected by Fabergé artisans to mimic the delicate softness of real flower petals. The flower is placed in a small rock crystal pot that appears to contain water. However, the water is actually solid rock crystal, cut and polished to create an illusion of liquid. This is one of Fabergé's most impressive artistic techniques. But what makes it so expensive? After the Russian Revolution, many Fabergé pieces were lost, sold, or destroyed. Today, only a handful of Fabergé flowers exist, and each one is considered a priceless work of art. Another reason for its extraordinary value is its combination of gold, jade, enamel, and rock crystal, making it a technically brilliant piece, nearly impossible to replicate today. Now, Fabergé objects are highly sought after by collectors, museums, and institutions, driving up their market value. Who brought it to Antiques Roadshow? The Fabergé flower was originally gifted in 1904 to the Queen's Own Worcestershire Hussars, QOWH, by Georgina, Countess of Dudley. She gave it to the regiment to commemorate their return from the Boer War in South Africa. Over time, the flower remained in the regiment's possession. The person who brought it to Antiques Roadshow was Colonel Stamford Cartwright. He presented it on behalf of B Squadron, the Royal Yeomanry, during an episode of Antiques Roadshow in 2017. Its record-breaking appraisal. After its historic $1.6 million appraisal on Antiques Roadshow UK in 2017.
So I'm going to tell you, in my opinion, that this is worth £1 million.
Well, I'm supposed to say no, it's not for sale.
The owner chose not to sell it at auction. The flower is still considered one of the rarest and most valuable Fabergé creations known to exist. However, if it were ever to be sold at auction, experts believe it could fetch an even higher price, possibly exceeding $2 million or more, given the growing demand for Fabergé masterpieces among collectors and museums.
Patek Philippe Pocket Watch. History of Patek Philippe. Patek Philippe is one of the world's most prestigious Swiss watchmakers, known for its high-end, handcrafted timepieces with exceptional complications. The company was founded in 1839 by Antoni Patek, a Polish watchmaker, and François Czapek, a Czech-born watchmaker, under the name Patek, Czapek, and Cie. However, In 1845, Čapek left the company, and in 1846 Patek partnered with Adrien Philippe, a French watchmaker who had invented the keyless winding and setting mechanism. This innovation eliminated the need for a separate key to wind watches, revolutionizing the industry. The company was officially renamed Patek Philippe & Company in 1851. Who was this watch made for? The 1914 Patek Philippe pocket watch was made in 1914 and delivered on October 18, 1915. It was a custom-commissioned piece for George Thompson, an Anglo-American entrepreneur. Wealthy individuals at the time, especially entrepreneurs and aristocrats, often placed bespoke orders for highly complicated timepieces tailored to their needs. George Thompson's name and company were even engraved on the watch, confirming that it was made exclusively for him. How was the 1914 Patek Philippe pocket watch crafted? The 1914 Patek Philippe pocket watch is an extraordinary example of Swiss haute horology, built with extreme precision and handcrafted mastery. At the heart of this pocket watch is a highly complicated mechanical movement, meticulously designed and assembled by Patek Philippe's master watchmakers. It features a perpetual calendar, a split-seconds chronograph, and a minute repeater. Every component was meticulously hand-finished, from the polished gears to the anglage, beveled edges on bridges. The enamel dials were hand-painted, ensuring perfect readability. It took over a year to manufacture. But what makes it so expensive? Patek Philippe is considered the holy grail of watchmaking, known for producing some of the most complicated and luxurious watches in history. This pocket watch was crafted during Patek Philippe's golden era, before World War I. Its unique double-dialed design, advanced features, and connection to an influential businessman make it irreplaceable. Unlike modern high-end watches, vintage pieces like this are historical artifacts that cannot be recreated. Who brought it to Antiques Roadshow? The 1914 Patek Philippe pocket watch was brought to Antiques Roadshow in 2004 by Robert Thompson, the great-grandson of George Thompson, for whom the watch was originally commissioned. This extraordinary timepiece had been a cherished family heirloom, stored securely in a safe deposit box for decades. Robert recalled that, during his childhood, his father would occasionally bring the watch home, and they would marvel at its intricate chimes. Its record-breaking appraisal. The watch gained global attention after being featured on Antiques Roadshow in 2004, where it was initially appraised at $250,000 to $300,000.
This watch at auction, I suspect, would bring close to $250,000.
However, further research revealed its true rarity, leading to intense bidding at Sotheby's in 2006, where it sold for a record-breaking $1.54 million, including the buyer's premium. This pocket watch isn't just a timepiece. It's a piece of history, art, and engineering. Its complexity, rarity, and connection to Patek Philippe's legacy make it one of the most valuable watches ever sold.
The late 17th century rhinoceros horn cups. History of the late 17th century rhinoceros horn cups. The finest rhinoceros horn cups from the 17th and 18th centuries were primarily made by Chinese artisans. These skilled craftsmen, particularly during the late Ming, 1368 to 1644, and Qing, 1644 to 1912, dynasties, carved the cups from actual rhinoceros horns. Unlike elephant ivory, which is made of dentin, similar to bone, rhinoceros horn is composed of keratin, the same protein that makes up human fingernails and hair. These cups were usually decorated with intricate carvings featuring dragons, landscapes, immortals, and mythological themes, following traditional Chinese artistic values. Rhinoceros horn cups weren't just drinking vessels, they were highly symbolic and prized objects in both China and Europe, crafted for ritual, medicinal, and status-related purposes. It was believed that rhinoceros horn could neutralize poison, cure fevers, and promote longevity. While modern science has debunked these claims, such beliefs were deeply rooted in Chinese medicine. Additionally, high-ranking officials, scholars, and nobles used these cups as decorative pieces in their study rooms, symbolizing wisdom, refinement, and status. The Qing dynasty elite, including emperors, considered these cups luxurious and highly desirable. Why are they so expensive? These cups are extremely rare and valuable due to several factors. Scarcity of rhino horn. Rhinos were already rare in China, and many horns had to be imported from India, Africa, and Southeast Asia. Destruction over time. Many antique rhino horn cups were lost, damaged, or melted down to be used in traditional medicine. Modern conservation laws. The trade of rhino horn is now banned, making existing antique pieces even more valuable. Historical and artistic value. Being from the Qing dynasty adds significant historical, cultural, and artistic value, making them one of the most expensive antique collectibles in the world. Who brought it to Antiques Roadshow? In 2011, during a taping of PBS's Antiques Roadshow in Tulsa, Oklahoma, a man brought in a collection of 5 Chinese rhinoceros horn cups dating back to the late 17th or early 18th century. The owner, who chose to remain anonymous, had acquired these intricately carved cups over several years, investing approximately $5,000 in total. Asian art expert Lark Mason appraised the collection, estimating its value between $1 million and $1.5 million, making it one of the highest appraisals in the show's history.
I believe that a conservative number would be between $1 million and $1,500,000 for this group.
Serious?
I'm serious.
Whoa.
The owner later consigned the cups for auction at Sotheby's, New York on March 20th, 2012. The collection was expected to achieve a similar valuation. However, subsequent public records do not indicate any further auctions or sales of this specific collection. It's possible that the owner chose to retain the cups or explore private sale options, but no details of any such transactions have been publicly disclosed. Current estimated value. Given the continued rarity of antique rhino horn cups and increasing restrictions on trade, their value today would likely be in the range of $1.2 million to $2 million. The 1871 to 1872 Boston Red Stockings Archives. History of the 1871 to 1872 Boston Red Stockings Archives. The Boston Red Stockings were formed in 1871 as part of the inaugural season of the National Association of Professional Baseball Players, the first professional baseball league. The team was founded by Harry Wright, who was also the team's manager. Harry, along with his brother George Wright, played an essential role in shaping the team and the early professional baseball landscape. The Red Stockings' goal was simple: to establish baseball as a professional sport with paid athletes. They were one of the earliest teams to offer players salaries, and their success in the early seasons helped solidify their place in baseball history. In 1871, the Red Stockings finished with a solid record of 9-4, securing their reputation as a dominant force in early professional baseball. These cards were often handed out at games or sold as promotional material by local businesses. They weren't considered valuable at the time, but have since become incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. These early cards, particularly those featuring Harry Wright or George Wright, are extremely valuable today. They are not just relics of a baseball team, but a window into the pioneering days of professional baseball. Cards from this period were produced in small quantities and were often poorly preserved, making any surviving examples a true rarity. How were these cards made? The cards from the 1871 to 1872 era were produced in a relatively simple manner compared to modern cards. Most were printed using woodcut printing techniques or lithography. These processes were common during the time, and the cards were often designed with simple illustrations and minimal text. Given the limited production and lack of protective measures, most of these cards have deteriorated or have been lost over the years, adding to their scarcity. Unlike modern cards that are mass-produced and sealed in protective plastic, these early cards were susceptible to wear and tear, which is why finding one in good condition today is so remarkable. They were made in small batches, often with the names of star players like Harry and George Wright prominently featured, cementing their place in baseball history. Why are they so expensive? Why are these 1871 to 1872 Red Stockings cards worth so much today? The answer lies in their rarity, historical importance, and the rise of the sports memorabilia market. The Boston Red Stockings were pioneers in professional baseball, and their early cards represent the birth of the sport as we know it. These artifacts are not just pieces of cardboard, they are pieces of history. The 1871 to 1872 Boston Red Stockings cards are truly historical masterpieces that stand as some of the rarest and most valuable artifacts in the world of baseball memorabilia. These cards aren't just pieces of paper, they are links to the very beginnings of professional baseball. With only a few surviving examples, they represent an era when the game was still finding its footing and the players were laying the foundation for the sport we know and love today. Given their rarity and historical significance, these cards have become highly sought after by collectors and have seen their value climb into the hundreds of thousands, and in some cases over $1 million for top-tier items.
I would insure it for at least $1 million.
Are you serious? Oh my.
But what do you think? How much do you believe these rare cards could fetch in an auction today? In 2025? Will they continue to rise in value as the demand for vintage sports memorabilia grows? Drop your thoughts and guesses in the comments below. I'd love to hear your opinions on what these incredible pieces of history could be worth now. Let's dive deep into the most expensive and beautiful item ever appraised on Antiques Roadshow. The 18th century Qianlong Jade Collection from the Qing Dynasty. History of the Qianlong Jade Collection. The 18th century Qianlong Jade Collection was made primarily for the Chinese imperial court, specifically for Emperor Qianlong, 1735 to 1796, his family, and high-ranking officials. These jade pieces served multiple purposes, reflecting the emperor's taste, political authority, and cultural ideology. Emperor Qianlong was a passionate collector who personally commissioned jade pieces, often inscribing them with poetry or commentary. During that time, these jades were also gifted to empresses, concubines, and royal children as symbols of status and longevity. Additionally, the emperor awarded jade items, such as imperial seals, belt plaques, and desk objects, to loyal ministers and scholars as tokens of favor. Some jade artifacts, especially those with Buddhist or Taoist motifs, were used in temples or given as offerings to secure divine blessings. Who made these jades? The finest Qianlong-era jade pieces were crafted in imperial workshops located in the Forbidden City, under the direct supervision of the emperor. These workshops employed master jade carvers, calligraphers, and craftsmen who meticulously shaped and polished jade according to imperial tastes. At the time, Suzhou was the most famous jade carving center in China, known for producing delicate, finely carved jade objects. Many of the best jade artisans from Suzhou were recruited by the imperial court to work in Beijing. Process of making Qianlong jade. Jade selection. High-quality jade, especially mutton fat white jade, was chosen. Cutting and shaping. Artisans used abrasive tools, bow-driven lathes, and jade-cutting saws to shape the stone. Carving and engraving, intricate patterns, imperial inscriptions, and auspicious symbols were painstakingly carved by skilled hands. Polishing. The final step involved hand polishing with fine abrasives to achieve a smooth, glowing finish. What makes these so expensive? The 18th century Qianlong jade collection is highly valuable due to a combination of rarity, historical significance, craftsmanship, and imperial association. Here are the key factors that make these jade pieces worth hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars at auctions. Imperial connection and provenance, exceptional craftsmanship, rarity and quality of the jade, historical and cultural significance, scarcity and collector demand. To understand the rarity of these jades, consider this: the imperial white jade seal inscribed with Emperor Qianlong's poetry was sold at auction in April 2010. The seal fetched 95.86 million Hong Kong dollars, approximately 12.29 million US dollars, at a Sotheby's auction in Hong Kong, setting world records for both white jade and imperial seals at that time. Who brought the Qianlong Jade collection on Antiques Roadshow? In June 2009, Jinx Taylor brought her collection of 18th century Qianlong jade to an Antiques Roadshow event in Raleigh, North Carolina. Asian arts appraiser James Callahan evaluated the collection, which included 4 pieces of Chinese carved jade and celadon ceramics from the Qianlong period, 1736 to 1795. He provided a conservative auction estimate ranging from $710,000 to $1,070,000.
For a total amount of between $710,000 to $1,070,000.
Marking it as one of the highest appraisals in the show's history. The appraisal aired on January 3, 2010, during season 14 of Antiques Roadshow. Subsequently, in October 2009, Jinx Taylor sold the collection at auction for $494,615, which was less than the appraised value, but still a significant amount. What would the collection be worth in 2025? If Jinx Taylor's 18th century Qianlong jade collection were appraised today in 2025, its estimated value would likely be in the range of $1.2 million to $2 million. Would you like me to make a detailed video about the imperial white jade seal inscribed with Emperor Qianlong's poetry, which was sold for $12.29 million in 2010? Let me know in the comments. The Navajo Ute First Phase Blanket, circa 1850. History of the Navajo Ute First Phase Blanket, circa 1850. The Navajo Ute First Phase Blanket dates back to the early to mid-19th century, woven by Navajo artisans in the American Southwest. These blankets were created using hand-spun wool from churro sheep, a breed introduced by Spanish settlers in the 16th century. The blanket's horizontal striped pattern in natural white, brown, and indigo-dyed blue was simple yet striking. Unlike later styles, first-phase blankets lacked elaborate patterns or red accents. The tight, even weave made them highly durable and warm. During this period, these blankets were primarily traded to Ute and other Plains tribes, who considered them symbols of wealth, prestige, and status. They became known as chiefs' blankets, although they were not exclusively worn by chiefs. Who made these blankets? The Navajo people were master weavers, and their textile traditions were highly developed by the early 1800s. The Navajo Ute First Phase Blanket, circa 1850, was hand-woven by Navajo women, specifically skilled artisans within the tribe. One such example is a blanket woven around 1850 by a Navajo woman using traditional techniques passed down for generations. Each blanket took months to complete, requiring extraordinary skill to achieve the tight, consistent weave that made them so valuable. The artisans used natural dyes to create the deep indigo blue and sometimes incorporated red from cochineal dye, though this was more common in later phases. The first phase blankets were hand-woven by Navajo women who passed down their weaving skills through generations. Process of making a Navajo first phase blanket. Wool selection. Wool from Choro sheep was used due to its long, fine fibers and softness. Spinning and dyeing. Wool was hand-spun into fine yarn and dyed using natural plant and insect-based dyes, e.g. indigo for blue, cochineal for red in later phases. Weaving. The blanket was woven on a vertical loom using a tight weave pattern that required immense skill and patience. Finishing. The final piece was brushed and checked for any inconsistencies before being used or traded. What makes these blankets so expensive? The Navajo Ute First Phase blanket is one of the rarest and most valuable Native American textiles. Here's why these blankets fetch millions of dollars at auctions. Historical significance. These blankets represent early Navajo weaving traditions before commercial dyes and designs became widespread. Scarcity. Only a handful of authentic First Phase blankets survive today. Exceptional craftsmanship. The tight weave and high-quality wool make these blankets extremely durable and desirable. Cultural and tribal importance. These blankets were status symbols among Plains tribes. Collector demand. Museum-quality pieces are highly sought after by collectors and institutions. Famous auction sale and record-breaking value. A Navajo Ute First Phase blanket was famously featured on Antiques Roadshow in 2012, where it was appraised at $750,000 to $1 million. The owner, unaware of its value, was stunned. Later that year, it was sold at auction for $1.8 million, making it one of the most expensive Native American textiles ever sold. Who brought it to Antiques Roadshow? The blanket was brought to Antiques Roadshow by Ted Kuntz, a man from Tucson, Arizona. The blanket had been in his family for generations and was passed down from his great-grandfather, who had reportedly acquired it in the mid-19th century. Kuntz believed it was just an old family heirloom, unaware of its extraordinary value. The Antiques Roadshow appraiser recognized it as an authentic Navajo Ute First Phase blanket, leading to its historic valuation. What would the blanket be worth in 2025? If a similar Navajo Ute First Phase blanket, circa 1,850, were appraised today, its estimated value would likely be in the range of $1.5 million to $3 million, depending on condition, provenance, and collector interest. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Let's dive deep into one of the most valuable and historically significant guitars ever appraised on Antiques Roadshow. The 1962 Gibson J160E that once belonged to John Lennon. History of the 1962 John Lennon Gibson J160E. This extraordinary guitar was originally purchased by John Lennon on September 10, 1962, from Rushworth's Music House in Liverpool for £161. It was identical to the one acquired by George Harrison, as both guitars were bought at the same time. Lennon's J160E became an essential part of the Beatles' early recordings and performances, featured on hits like She Loves You, I Want to Hold Your Hand, and Love Me Do. However, in December 1963, the guitar was stolen during a Christmas concert in London and disappeared for over 50 years. Many believed it was lost forever, but in 2014, it resurfaced when a musician in San Diego unknowingly owned it. After an in-depth verification process, experts confirmed it was indeed Lennon's long-lost guitar, making it one of the most exciting discoveries in music history. Who made this guitar? The Gibson J160E was crafted by Gibson, one of the most renowned American guitar manufacturers. Introduced in 1954, this model was designed as one of the earliest acoustic electric guitars, allowing players to amplify their sound while maintaining a warm, natural tone. It became a favorite among musicians due to its versatility and distinctive sound. The creation process of the Gibson J160E wood selection. The guitar featured a laminated spruce top and mahogany back and sides, creating its distinctive tone. Neck and fretboard. A mahogany neck with a rosewood fretboard provided smooth playability and durability. Electronics. The J160E was equipped with a P90 pickup placed near the neck, giving it a warm, rich sound when amplified. Final assembly and finishing. The guitar was hand-finished with a sunburst lacquer, polished to perfection, and set up for optimal playability. What makes this guitar so expensive? This guitar is considered one of the most valuable instruments ever appraised on Antiques Roadshow due to historical significance. Being owned and played by John Lennon during the Beatles' early years makes this guitar an irreplaceable piece of music history. Association with the Beatles. Items connected to the Beatles are highly sought after by collectors worldwide. Rarity. Very few Beatles-owned guitars are available in private collections, making any authenticated instrument extremely valuable. Provenance. The guitar's detailed history, including its disappearance and rediscovery, adds immense value. Collector demand. Music memorabilia, especially from the Beatles, remains one of the most lucrative categories in the auction world. Famous auction sale and record-breaking value. After being rediscovered and authenticated, John Lennon's 1962 Gibson J160E was put up for auction on November 7, 2015, at Julien's Auctions. The final sale price stunned the music world, with the guitar selling for $2.41 million, making it one of the most expensive guitars ever sold.
All right, 2,100,000 going once. 2,100,000 going twice. Ladies and gentlemen, a new world record.
Who brought it to Antiques Roadshow? The guitar was not initially brought to Antiques Roadshow, but was authenticated through meticulous research and verification by experts. The musician who unknowingly owned it in San Diego had purchased it without realizing its true value. Once its identity was confirmed, it became a headline-making discovery in the world of music memorabilia. The impact of this guitar on music history. John Lennon's Gibson J160E was not just an instrument, it was a part of the Beatles' creative process. Lennon and McCartney composed some of their earliest and most famous songs with this guitar, making it a true piece of rock and roll history. The theft and subsequent disappearance of the instrument only added to its mystique, and its eventual rediscovery after half a century was like finding a lost relic of the golden era of music. What would the guitar be worth in 2025? If this guitar were appraised today, its estimated value would likely be between $2.5 million and $3.5 million, depending on its condition, provenance, and the market for Beatles memorabilia. Given the increasing demand for authentic Beatles artifacts, its value could continue to rise in the coming years. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. The FA Cup Trophy, 1911 to 1992. History of the FA Cup Trophy, 1911 to 1992. The FA Cup Trophy that appeared on Antiques Roadshow in 2016 is the longest-serving version of the famous cup, having been used for 81 years from 1911 to 1992. It was crafted by Fattorini and Sons, a Bradford-based firm established by Italian immigrants, and became the third version of the FA Cup to be used in competition. This trophy replaced the second version, which had been stolen in 1895, and it served as the most prestigious prize in English football for decades. Over the years, this trophy was lifted by some of the greatest football teams in history. From the early days of English football to the rise of modern club legends, it witnessed some of the most memorable FA Cup finals in history, including Manchester United's 1948 victory, Arsenal's dramatic 1979 triumph, and Liverpool's dominance in the 1980s. However, after 81 years of service, It was finally retired in 1992 and replaced by a new design, as the FA sought to preserve the aging but legendary artifact. Who made this trophy? The Bradford firm, Fattorini and Sons, was responsible for creating this iconic trophy. The company was well regarded for producing high-quality silverware and had a long history of crafting sports trophies, medals, and ceremonial pieces. Interestingly, the FA Cup trophy they designed featured intricate detailing, including grape and vine motifs, which silver expert Alistair Dickinson suggested may indicate that the trophy was originally intended to be a wine or champagne cooler before being repurposed as the FA Cup. The creation process of the FA Cup trophy. Design and inspiration. The trophy was designed in a traditional cup and handles shape, adorned with intricate engravings and elegant curves, setting the standard for future FA Cup designs. Material and craftsmanship. Made of sterling silver, the trophy's brilliant shine and durable structure ensured that it would stand the test of time. Hand engraving. The detailed motifs, club inscriptions, and the Football Association's emblem were carefully hand engraved onto the trophy by master silversmiths. Final polishing and presentation. The completed trophy was polished to perfection before being presented for use in the 1911 FA Cup final, where Bradford City defeated Newcastle United 1-0 in a replay at Old Trafford. What makes this trophy so expensive? This FA Cup trophy is considered one of the most valuable pieces of football memorabilia ever appraised due to historical significance. It was the official FA Cup for 8 decades, making it one of the most recognized trophies in English football history. Association with legendary clubs. This very trophy was lifted by Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Tottenham Hotspur, and numerous other iconic clubs, as well as football legends like Bobby Moore, George Best, Ian Rush, and Eric Cantona. Unique craftsmanship. Made by an esteemed silversmith firm, its detailed craftsmanship and aesthetic beauty make it unique among sports trophies. Provenance. The trophy's long documented history and official ownership by the Football Association, FA, add immense value and prestige. Collector demand. As a piece of English football heritage, demand for such a historic item is exceptionally high, both among private collectors and museums. Famous Antiques Roadshow appraisal and record-breaking value. In 2016, the FA Cup trophy was brought to Antiques Roadshow by BBC Sports' Gabby Logan and former Leeds United manager Eddie Gray, a legendary football figure who won the FA Cup with Leeds in 1972. Silver expert Alistair Dickinson examined the trophy and provided a stunning valuation. Given its extraordinary history, cultural significance, and craftsmanship, Dickinson estimated the FA Cup trophy to be worth well over £1 million.
I think quite comfortably this has got to be worth well over £1 million.
Making it one of the highest valued items ever appraised on Antiques Roadshow at the time. The trophy remains under the stewardship of the Football Association, FA, ensuring that its legacy continues to be celebrated. It was presented on the show as part of an in-depth exploration into the history of English football memorabilia. The presence of Gabby Logan and Eddie Gray, two respected figures in British football, added further credibility to its provenance and importance. The impact of this trophy on football history. For more than 8 decades, this FA Cup trophy was the ultimate prize in English football. It was lifted by some of the greatest footballers in history, representing moments of passion, competition, and glory for fans and players alike. The trophy became a symbol of English football's rich heritage and tradition, and its appraisal on Antiques Roadshow in 2016 cemented its status as one of the most prized artifacts in sports history. Even though it has been replaced by a newer version, this historic FA Cup trophy remains one of the most recognizable symbols in the sport. Its legacy continues to inspire players, fans, and collectors alike. What would the trophy be worth in 2025? If this trophy were appraised today, its estimated value would likely be between £1.2 million and £1.5 million, depending on collector demand, market trends, and the growing appreciation for historic football memorabilia. Given the increasing significance of football collectibles and auctions, its value is expected to rise even further in the coming years.
Diego Rivera was one of the most renowned Mexican artists, best known for his murals and his role in the Mexican muralism movement. He was a prolific painter, social activist, and a central figure in 20th century art. Rivera's work often dealt with political and social themes, focusing on the struggles of the working class, indigenous peoples, and Mexican culture. His murals are celebrated for their vivid colors, intricate details, and powerful depictions of history and society. Rivera's prolific output over his lifetime makes it difficult to estimate the total number of works he created, but it is believed to be well over 1,000 pieces across various mediums, including murals, paintings, sketches, and lithographs. Diego Rivera's El Albañil, The Mason, painted in 1904, is an early and important work in Rivera's career. It is a powerful representation of labor and the dignity of the working class, themes that would later become central to his larger body of work. The painting portrays a mason, a bricklayer or construction worker, engaged in his work. Rivera's focus on a manual laborer represents his early interest in the lives of working people and their struggles, a theme that he would explore much more deeply in his later murals. The worker is shown with a focus on strength and resilience, emphasizing the dignity of manual labor. El Albañil was painted during Rivera's time in Europe, particularly in his early years as an artist. The piece reflects his exposure to realism and impressionism, both of which influenced his work during this period. The painting's use of color, texture, and light is detailed and expressive, helping convey the physical effort involved in the mason's labor. El Albañil is considered valuable for several reasons: historical and artistic significance. As one of Rivera's early works, it holds a special place in the history of his career. Early works by great artists often become more valuable because they mark the beginning of the artist's style and themes before they gained wider recognition. Rare and important period. Rivera's early works, particularly from his time in Europe, are rarer compared to his later, more widely known murals. This makes paintings like El Albañil highly sought after by collectors and institutions. Cultural context. El Albañil speaks to Mexican culture and the lives of working-class individuals, themes that are central to Rivera's identity as an artist and his role in creating a national artistic language. For Mexican art collectors and institutions, the painting represents a key moment in the development of modern Mexican art. Now let's talk about its worth. The interesting thing is that this painting has been in the guest's family for over 80 years, and the guest had no idea that it was worth so much. I won't ruin the original voice of the guest. Enjoy these important clips from the original video.
So, trifectas usually pay pretty well. I would be putting a retail estimate on the piece of between $800,000 and $1 million.
Seriously?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Unbelievable. I did not expect that. I'm astounded. I really don't know what to say.
The increase in its price didn't stop there. As of 2018, the appraised value of El Albañil has been updated to a range of $1.2 million to $2.2 million at retail. The increase from the initial 2012 estimate of $800,000 to $1 million reflects the growing recognition of Rivera's significance in the global art market.
Let's dive deep into the most expensive and beautiful item ever appraised on Antiques Roadshow. This is none other than the 1950s Alexander Calder Mobile. History of the Alexander Calder Mobile. Alexander Calder was an American sculptor best known for inventing the mobile, a type of kinetic sculpture that moves with air currents. He was one of the most influential modern artists of the 20th century, blending engineering and art to create dynamic, ever-changing compositions. Calder's mobiles were inspired by abstract art and movement. In the 1930s, he met Piet Mondrian, whose geometric paintings influenced Calder's shift toward abstraction. He later experimented with balance, color, and motion, creating mobiles that seemed to float in the air like celestial bodies. The 1950 mobile was one of Calder's significant works from the post-war period, when he was at the peak of his artistic career. He made this piece as part of his continuous exploration of motion, balance, and spatial relationships. How Calder's mobiles are crafted? Calder often started with rough sketches and paper models to experiment with shapes and balance. He visualized how the individual elements would interact with air currents and movement. He primarily used sheet metal, usually aluminum or steel, for the elements. Wire or thin metal rods connected the pieces, acting as arms to hold the structure together. The metal was often hand-cut, hammered, and shaped to ensure perfect balance. The most crucial step was balancing each element to ensure smooth, natural movement. Since Calder's mobiles relied on air currents, he tested how they moved under different conditions. Why is it so expensive? Calder was one of the most influential sculptors of the 20th century. Original Calder mobiles from the 1950s are rare, increasing their market value. His mobiles are not just sculptures. They are floating, moving masterpieces that combine physics, design, and artistic expression in a way no other artist had done before. Who brought it to Antiques Roadshow? In a 2010 episode of Antiques Roadshow filmed in Miami Beach, a guest named Ruth brought in a mid-20th century mobile created by Alexander Calder. Ruth explained that her aunt and uncle had hosted a cocktail party in 1958, where Calder was an unexpected guest. As a gesture of appreciation for their hospitality, Calder gifted the mobile to her aunt, who cherished it for many years. This personal connection to the artist and the mobile's provenance significantly enhanced its value. During the appraisal, expert Chris Kennedy estimated the mobile's auction value to be between $400,000 and $600,000, noting that its retail price could reach up to $1 million. By 2021, the mobile's auction estimate had risen to $800,000, with a retail valuation of up to $2 million. This remarkable appreciation underscores the significance of Calder's work and the importance of documented provenance in the art market. These kinds of detailed videos take hours of research and effort, so make sure to subscribe and like the video. Let us know your opinions and suggestions in the comments. What can we improve in our videos? See you soon with another rare and unique Antiques Roadshow item.